Yes, mate, and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another podcast style video. The first one I did, which was talking about the 4 things to consider for this Newcastle United financial takeover. That did pretty well. It's got good views, good number of likes. One nasty comment, but then again, it's just sticks and stones in it. Whatever. Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up. And I think on that last video I was about, I can't remember how many subscribers. Must have been about 30 odd. Now, of course, we're up to 154, which is absolutely awesome. So thank you all so much for the support. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that big red subscribe button. If you're part of the whopping 96% of viewers who are not subscribed. 96. I think that's mainly due to people coming over from the Morgs video. Honestly, mate, all the kids on there, they need to get a life. But today, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about player of the season in the Premier League. Of course, BT Sport awarded it to Jurgen Henderson. First things first, just want to get this clear before we have like a triggering Liverpool fans part 2 on this channel. Well, I'm not taking away from the fact that Henderson doesn't deserve this. Well, it's not really a fact. I'm not taking away that he does not deserve this. When you look at what Liverpool have done this season and the previous season, they have been absolutely incredible under his leadership. During the World Cup as well, he was absolutely brilliant, despite the fact he was not actually a captain. Of course, it was Harry Kane that was captain. I was a little bit harsh on Kane, saying that in my transfer video, talking about him, that his leadership during the World Cup was terrible. It wasn't terrible, but it just wasn't quite what Henderson... The bar was set quite high with Henderson, and Kane just wasn't really fulfilling it. He must have done something right for us to get to the semi-finals and very much in touching distance with the finals. But still, Henderson, he's been, in the 8 years he's been at Liverpool, 8-9 years, he has been fairly decent. I will give him that credit where credit is due. So I just want to get that cleared up, straight up. First and foremost, this isn't a case of me attacking Henderson, saying he doesn't deserve it. This is a case of a bit of a debate whether he or Kevin De Bruyne deserves it. Now, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll know that I was going to be making a video about this and talking about whether or not Kevin De Bruyne has been done over by the Premier League with regards to this. It's been up for quite a bit of a debate. This was announced about a week ago, something like that. That Henderson was, of course, announced as player of the season so far in the Premier League, which, like I said, seems fair enough. What we're going to do is go through a few things, a few opinions, well, my humble opinion, sometimes not humble, but you know what, whatever. Go through some couple of articles as well, and going through some statistics as well. So let's just get started off straight up, first and foremost with OneFootball. It's an app that I use fairly a lot myself. It's a very good, reliable football source. OneFootball, if you are listening, where's my sponsorship? I ain't getting a sponsorship. No way, Jose. I've been using them since the channel started, and of course, we're up to big numbers right now, so I'm just going to continue using them because, like I said, they are quite reliable. But they did this news article, well, it was just an article here on OneFootball that was published 5 days ago, and it's called Our Premier League End of Season Awards for the 2019-20 season. It includes Kevin De Bruyne, Alexander-Arnold, Son and more. We're just going to go straight down to Kevin De Bruyne, and they say that he is player of the season. So player of the season, Kevin De Bruyne, Man City. Awarded to the player with the best performances throughout the 2019-20 campaign. Is there a credible argument that Kevin De Bruyne isn't the best pound-for-pound footballer in Premier League currently? Because if there is, we are yet to hear it, and I'm kind of with him on that. Moving on though, people will argue the point about Mo Salah, Raheem Sterling and Sadio Mane. No doubt, yet there can be very little arguments about the fact that the 28-year-old is on top of the mountain right now, if not the league. And not only is he the best player, but he has had the best season bar none. Now, a lot of this is taken into accountability that he has had 16 assists in the Premier League, and he looks like he could be on track for a record-breaking season, having more assists than what Thierry Henry did. And of course, he held the record back in the 2002, was it 2002-2003 or 2003-2004 season? Of course, he had 20 assists, and looks like De Bruyne could go ahead and get probably, 22, 23, my prediction for the end of the season. But still, when you consider for the fact that he has been injured for quite a fair bit, and his numbers, which we'll get into at the end of this, have been very, very good. He's been very consistent, very reliable for City. Despite the fact he has been injured, even this season, he has been terrific. Absolutely terrific. To see a player come back from injury and to still get 16 season, get double-digit assists in the Premier League is fairly impressive indeed. But it goes on to say that De Bruyne's 8 goals and 17 assists, that's a typo, it's actually 16, in the league are the best he has had in a single campaign since nabbing 10 and 20 respectively for Wolfsburg. And given how well he was playing before the Premier League was suspended, there would have been few betting against him to better that tally and beat Thierry Henry's assist record in the process. And it looks like it could very much go ahead and do just that, as I did mention. Given the PFA Player of the Season was awarded to Liverpool players despite Man City winning the past 2 titles, it would only be fitting for a Man City player to win it this season, with Liverpool finally, eventually maybe, getting over the line. No individual Liverpool player has lit it up in a manner comparable to Virgil van Dijk or Mo Salah in the past 2 seasons, which is why Jordan Henderson has emerged as a favourite for the award because of his leadership and tireless fighting spirit. But it should really only be going to one man. Now, that's just a debate in itself, really, of whether or not De Bruyne does deserve it, and throwing in Van Dijk and Mo Salah as well, very much deserved of that award. There is one Liverpool player I do have in mind who I would, if I was to give it to one Liverpool player, it would be this one. I will get onto it eventually because it was mentioned of, if you do go in a Google search and type in Kevin De Bruyne Player of the Season, there is loads of articles which I will get into in a minute. But the tireless leadership and effortless of Jordan Henderson has very much been a key role in Liverpool performing well. In 25 points clear with 10 games to go is fairly impressive, I must give him that. But still, there is just that to consider as well, that De Bruyne, because he's arguably the best player in the Premier League, best midfielder in the world, there is that to consider also. The fact that he hasn't got a Champions League to his name is still fairly just surprising, to be honest, but still there is all that to consider. Of course, runner-ups for this, according to this article on OneFootball, is Mo Salah, Sadio Mane and Trent Alexander-Arnold, all Liverpool players. And to be honest, just going straight up into this, I feel as though De Bruyne does deserve it. But before we do jump too much to conclusions, which I feel as though there might be a odd Liverpool fans doing that just right here, right now, let's just have a quick look at what happens if you go into Google, like I did mention earlier, and simply type in Kevin De Bruyne Player of the Season. Odd little articles in the search results from Premier League showing the statistics of Kevin De Bruyne, his transfer market value now, but also this one, which was posted by the Daily Mail, which was Man City star Kevin De Bruyne names Liverpool's Sadio Mane as Player of the Season, and he has actually come out and said that if he was to vote for anyone, he would go ahead and vote for Sadio Mane, which, to be honest, is quite commendable of him and quite humbling as well to see him go ahead and do something just like that. I mean, credit where credit's due, especially with Sadio Mane. For me, he is quite an underrated player at Liverpool, I'd say personally. He's very much slips under the radar, under like Trent, Alisson, Van Dijk and Mo Salah. He's quite an underrated player, both on and off the pitch, to be honest. Let's just have another look here. This is on a Sky Sports article here, and it's Jamie Redknapp explaining why Kevin De Bruyne is his Player of the Season. And of course, did mention about though his City side have stumbled in the Premier League, sitting 25 points behind leaders Liverpool. Before football was put on hold due to the coronavirus, the Belgian was the champion's outstanding performer, registering 16 assists, which again is absolutely impressive. Again, just going through a few things which was mentioned before on OneFootball, that is on the track record to beat Thierry Henry's 20 assist season, which was back in the 2002-2003 season. His statistics this season, this is Jamie Redknapp saying this, have been his best ever, and if the rest of the City side had been as consistent as him, they'd probably be in contention with Liverpool. And I feel as though that's just another whole video in itself, discussing whether or not if the City players have been performing as well as Kevin De Bruyne, whether or not they would be on Liverpool's level. I'd say, yeah, I'd give credit where credit's due. Liverpool, again, they have been incredible, but I'd like to see it happen if City players were as good as De Bruyne. Of course, De Bruyne does set a massive bar in that standard, in that status, but still, there is also that to consider as well, if that makes sense. If you catch my drift there. But anyway, we're going to have a look at the Premier League now, and have a look at the statistics of both Kevin De Bruyne and Jordan Henderson this season. Now, Kevin De Bruyne, 26 appearances, 8 goals, 18 wins, 5 losses. Jordan Henderson, 25 appearances, so he's had one less appearance than Kevin De Bruyne, which I was quite surprised about, because of course Jordan Henderson is the main leader, he's an important cog in that Liverpool team with his leadership, but to see him have one less appearance than Kevin De Bruyne, who of course was injured for a fair few games, is quite surprising to see. Scored 5 less goals with 3 goals, and he's had 6 more wins with 24, and of course no losses while he has been playing for them, which is fairly impressive indeed. Goals per match, De Bruyne is at 0.31, Henderson's at 0.12, which to be honest would be sort of understandable to see, because of course he's not really much of an attacking player as Henderson. He does more so drop back a little bit more than what's his name, Kevin De Bruyne. Let's have a look here though at team play. Now, assists. De Bruyne has got 16, of course, 1,470 passes, big chances created, 23, through balls, accurate long balls, they have been 23 and 82. Through balls from Henderson is 6. Accurate long balls is 101. So there's just, I'll leave links to these statistics in the description box down below if you do want to go ahead and have a read of them yourself. It does make for a good bit of reading in comparing 2 and 2. And of course, this just leads back to that heated debate. Well, it can get heated debate. I wouldn't really say it's intentionally to be heated, but it can have the sort of like outlook on being just that. Who deserves this more? Who genuinely this season deserves it more? I'd like to say Kevin De Bruyne, in a sort of half and half, in a humble and sort of biased sort of status in myself. But of course he is an incredible player. On his day he's good on either foot, left or right footed. He is absolutely awesome. But of course the season, there's 10 games still to go. And whether or not the season does resume or doesn't, to be honest, I don't particularly want to see it resume, because of course lives are at risk if we do go ahead and do that. So I'd rather it just be cancelled. And even if we have to resume or restart the Premier League next year, when hopefully, or whenever, to be honest, when COVID has in fact been dealt with, blown over, to be honest, I don't particularly want to see the Premier League resuming, because like I said, just because people's lives can be at risk, and there is just little bits and pieces to consider just like that. But who would I actually... Yeah, I'm going to stick with Kevin De Bruyne. I'm going to leave it up for debate here, just to see as to who deserves it more, because there is just so much more to consider. Of course, you can look at it from one perspective, looking at it emotionally, that Kevin De Bruyne is the best, he just is the best, or looking at it statistically, they seem to be evenly matched, really. I mean, De Bruyne is more of a forward-playing player than Jordan Henderson, who sits quite further deep in the team in the midfield. So there is that to consider, that De Bruyne's attacking stats might be better than Jordan Henderson's, but Henderson's defensive stats might be better than Kevin De Bruyne's. Also consider that Jordan Henderson hasn't been injured. I'm pretty sure he hasn't been injured, and Kevin De Bruyne, of course, has had his fair stint of injury. There's just so much to consider here, and it's good debate, a good talking point as well for football fans, who deserves it more. If you think there is another player, not from Liverpool or from Man City, who does deserve it, let me know. I can't really think of anyone, to be honest. I generally can't, but out of these two, I'm still going to stick with Kevin De Bruyne, and I'll just leave it up for you lot to debate on that. But that's all I've got to really talk about for this video, this little podcast sort of style video. If you don't want to see more videos like this, make sure to drop a like. If you do end up watching this, leave a comment as well on your thoughts on this. Hit that big red subscribe button if you do want to see more videos like this. Go for the ultimate goal of 1,000 by the end of the year. I feel as though it can be reached. But I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Hope you have the good rest of the weekend, good rest of the week, and I'll see you lot in a bizzle.